to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I wake again.
All right. Welcome to Wellness Tuesdays here in the Wisdom Clinic with my co-host, Sharmane, the herbal naturopath. And we are excited. I'm especially excited about this topic, inflammation, because this is one of my struggles and things that I go through. So I'm excited, Sharmane, to have you here to converse about a topic that not just only I deal with. I'm sure you've dealt with it, and probably some of you here that are watching here in the Wisdom Clinic have dealt with also. So I'm going to turn it over to Sharmane. Sharmane, thank you for joining us. It's glad to see you back here on Tuesdays at the Wisdom Clinic. What do you have for us today in regards to inflammation?
Yes, thank you for having me today. If you are here, it's because you are supposed to be here today. And like you said, a lot of us deal with inflammation. I don't think that we realize how serious inflammation is and how it affects our bodies a lot of times. So I do want to kind of break that down today. I'm an herbal naturopath. I help people go from dealing to healing and into natural wellness. And like you said, with inflammation, you can deal with the acute inflammation, which most people deal with, right? It's minor. It goes away in a few days, even a few hours, depending on how you go about it. But that inflammation that turns into chronic illness, that's one of the biggest issues, right? So the reason we'll be speaking about inflammation is because it is one of the primary factors to illness. Inflammation refers to your body's process of fighting against things that harm it, like infections, injuries, toxins, in attempt for it to heal itself. When something damages your cells, your body releases chemicals that do trigger a response from your immune system. So, like I said, acute inflammation, that can be normal, right? Acute inflammation, when you hit your arm against something and it swells up, right? That's acute inflammation. It turns red, swells up, then a few hours to maybe a few days, it may go away. That's your body's way of healing through protecting itself against harm. The issue arises once the body lacks a response and defenses with trying to actually heal, and then it festers into chronic inflammation. So if you've dealt with sinus issues, the key component of that is inflammation. When you have arthritis, the key component of that is inflammation. When you have respiratory issues or respiratory infection, again, the key component to that is inflammation. So you may go to the doctor and you hear doctors say, no matter what you're suffering with, the phrase, there's inflammation. I think a lot of us have heard that dealing with the doctors. There's inflammation. They say it over and over, right? So acute inflammation can show up in different forms, as swelling, pain, heat, or even things like, redness sometimes. I know that many times I've suffered with each one of these sometime in my life. It is very common for our bodies to actually go through like inflammation. Again, it's trying to protect, small inflammation can be good when it's trying to protect our bodies or repair our bodies. But most of the time, we're consuming medicine or we allow it to go away, on its own, depending on how it does show up in our life. So a lot of times when we're dealing with diabetes, skin conditions, asthma, it is because your body has a large amount of inflammation or excess mucus, causing it to be very acidic, which leads to more chronic inflammation again versus acute inflammation, which again will usually go away within a few weeks. So that's the difference between the chronic and then the acute inflammation. And I often speak about how we have the control to be able to prevent or at least alleviate illness, in our bodies through simple, effective measures. Like there's those small things that we could be doing. You don't have to be vegan. You don't have to do any extreme diets. You just have to have a little bit of self-awareness. And as an herbal naturopath, I do speak about that a lot. I love to bring awareness to people because simply some of the times we just honestly, we just don't know. A lot of times people just don't know. And if I'm able to help assist at least one person when I do speak to be able to live a full, healthier life, that's the goal. That's definitely the goal. So because I've like I said, I've dealt with being sick 8 months out of the year. And it was because it was always inflammation in my body somewhere, always inflammation. So absolutely, especially like I said, with sinuses, sinusitis. A lot of people struggle with sinusitis. A lot of people struggle with arthritis, muscle pain, bone pain, all these things. So with your sinuses, you really feel inflamed in your face. I know when I was dealing with sinusitis, I was really feeling like a lot of inflammation in my face, the pressure around here, around that area, and my whole face used to hurt so bad. I actually had to go to the ER a lot of times, and they had to give me antibiotics. So at this time in my life, I did find myself trying to justify it or normalize inflammation, which I didn't know it was inflammation at the time, but I always used to tell myself, well, I'm in the military, so that's why my body hurt. I'm in the military, so that's why. Or I'm getting older, so that's why. Well, and I always say, well, it can't be my eating because I do eat fruit and vegetables. We try to kind of justify to not be able to have the self-accountability portion, I would say. Because my favorite, I hear people consistently say, well, I don't eat pork, so, I should be fine. That's like one of the big things. I'm like, there's so many, excuse me, let me grab some water. There's so many different factors that do play a role, outside of inflammation. So just because you don't eat pork, maybe you drink alcohol. Maybe you have a high stress tolerance. Maybe you're consuming excess sugar, all these things. So you just have to get to a point where self-awareness is kind of top of your priority, taking self-accountability into our own actions that contribute to our health. As simple as that.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting over here thinking, because I remember when I would have those periods of inflammation in my body, I can literally tell, because there will be like changes, it's good to pay attention to changes that take place in your body. And I remember specifically, I started to feel a certain way and I was like, something's going on. I feel like something's different and it wasn't until I had to go to the doctor or go to the emergency room because something was really bothering me, and they'd be like inflammation. And I started to read and study, and I'm like, man, then I started looking at what things, was causing it. But I was like, wow, it's amazing how you can tell. You just don't know it's inflammation. Sometimes some people do if they know their bodies and they've did enough research, but some people just don't know.
Right.
So
Right, exactly.
what are some signs that you think that people that may not know how to identify inflammation, what are some signs that can let them know that there's something going on with their body, that inflammation could be contributing to whatever it is that they're dealing with?
So again, it kind of goes back to the swelling, the redness, the excess mucus. There's so many different, factors
Okay.
that go into inflammation. Again, a lot of times we're just unaware. So, for example, if you're a smoker, and even when you're coughing, because you're disturbing your lungs naturally, the ability to allow oxygen to flow through your bloodstream. That's what happens when you're smoking. You're causing inflammation to yourself. So things like that. I know people that vaping is no better. I know people that vape and they feel as though it's better instead of just eliminating the tobacco altogether. When individuals suffer from diseases, chronic diseases like Alzheimer's and heart disease, chronic inflammation, that's all involved. So when you're suffering from illnesses, you have to do something different. I tell people that all the time, not modify, not balance, not just eat a little bit.
Right.
Not take it down to one meal a day through intermittent fasting. No, you eliminate and you change, because
Mhm.
what you've been doing is why you're where you're at now. So a
Gotcha.
lot of times we suffer from illness way too long, just simply from our lifestyle choices, our generational habits. That's where that comes from. My family eats this, so I eat this. This is a tradition. This
Mhm.
is how it is. This is what, we turn around and then and say it runs in my family. But the
A lot
genetic.
of us gonna be dealing with inflammation during Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, you're gonna be like, Elizabeth, I'm dealing with inflammation. You should get a whole lot of people enrolling in your program after that, because everybody gonna
All
be in.
right. Absolutely. So, it's the genetic makeup of those illnesses. So it's not even so much that, it's that, okay, say your grandmother had an illness, right? Grandmother had an illness because of habits and things like that, right? It passes through the blood when she has a baby to your mother. And then those relationships with food and habits that your mother was taught was passed through to you. But once you become of age, you're able to take control of this and you're able to change it. Now, if we don't let it get to the point where our children have to wait until they're grown and out the house to choose better choices, we don't want to do that. Then now we've taken our power back to be able to stop generational illnesses. If we actually bring awareness early on, then we won't hear so much of that it runs in the family.
Gotcha.
So we, kind of, that's how you start to eliminate that generational illness. But I do find it ironic that we do live in a day and age where people will question herbal remedies and simply consuming from nature. They will ask, well, is that healthy? Is that safe? But not question the medication that they're taking.
That's a good
So
point.
yes, absolutely. We have so much control over our bodies. We really do. And lives, and we have so much control over our lives that, like, all these diseases that we're dying from prematurely at an early age is not even necessary. It really isn't. If we just stop consuming the things that are causing the inflammation that's leading to the illnesses that are killing us early and early and earlier.
Mm.
So I hope this definitely this makes sense,
Def-
and yeah, so
Definitely.
definitely let me know if you're viewing this, let me know your takeaway so far. Let me know, like, what you guys think down below in the comments also.
Definitely. Who would ever think that the foundation of different illnesses would be a direct result of inflammation, especially when you talk about chronic inflammation, because that's more like long term. So is there something that a person can do once they reach chronic inflammation, or is it, well, I'm sure, with you being an herbal naturopath, all of the remedies and things that you suggest are mostly herbal based. But how does a person who goes from an acute inflammation to chronic inflammation, is it a more complex process to go back and reverse, or is it the same no matter if it's acute or chronic?
Oh, absolutely. So when you have a acute inflammation, you're probably not going to be dealing, if you take a person that doesn't have not dealing with the illness. An average, healthy person is not dealing with chronic illness, but you have a person that is dealing with chronic illness. You definitely want to there. If one is dealing with the chronic and one is not, there's definitely a different factors.
Mm,
As far as how hard they will go to, consuming certain things, the fruit and vegetables and things like that, to be able to reverse it, because one has been dealing with it way longer than the other,
mm,
or one person is dealing with it and one's not. You definitely want to just make sure that you're paying attention to your body. I definitely let people know that all the time. You got to pay attention to your body. You have to, because we know the signs most of the time, but we just don't want to. We don't want to deal with it. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
We don't want to deal with it. Maybe, like I said, I was like, oh, it's because I'm getting old. That's normal. Oh, it's because I'm in the military. I'm gonna have body pains. It's normal. Oh, it's
Right.
because instead of getting to the root cause of the problem, I'm not taking into consideration that every Friday I'm going to Pizza Hut You know, and I'm getting this pizza every Friday and this bottle of alcohol, and I'm eating cheese puffs and cheesecake all weekend. I'm not taking that into consideration. You know, that's the self accountability part. I'm just like, I'm blaming it on, trying to find everything else to blame it on. Or, well, I'm
Yeah.
not unhealthy because of the way I look. You know, I'm this, so I look like this, so I'm good to go. And there was a lot of other things that was playing a factor. So that self-awareness part is really important. It really is, that self-awareness, and just kind of getting to the point where you're listening to your body, where you're taking in consideration your actions. A lot of time we're suffering from illnesses because of those little habits, those little actions that lead up to why we're sick. And we're quick to run to the doctor, you know, and want the doctor to prescribe us some medication instead of sitting back saying, what did I eat for the past month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year? A lot of times we want to say, well, what did I eat yesterday? Or what did I eat today? No, once you get to the point of chronic illness, it's what you've been eating for the past year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Definitely, because we do tend to look at what we did in a day or so. And because I know when I had before I realized even the importance of detoxing, and I think I had shared the story before, when I didn't have a bowel movement for like almost a month. And I was terrified. I knew that was not normal. And I knew that, and I was doing, I was drinking detox teas and doing different things, but it was not, and I'm usually pretty regular. And I knew something is up. And when I realized that, that I had some things backed up after listening to you talk about different things concerning pushing the waste out, when I got to the point where all that waste was pushed out, I was like, wow, like I didn't even realize that. And I started thinking back, like, what did I eat? What did I do? Because to me, I had been doing what I always do. And that's how we do. We form habits of eating. We form habits of doing different things, and you don't really take note and think, wow, what am I doing differently that's causing me to face inflammation? So now I'm always paying attention, like, okay, I'm not feeling that great. What's going on? Or if I'm feeling a certain way in my throat or something like that, it's like, okay, I'm paying attention now. So I think that's true. Awareness is definitely key.
Right, definitely paying attention. I know when I was suffering with my skin condition, my skin was very inflamed. It was very bothersome to the point where it would itch like 1,000 ants was crawling on my whole body underneath my skin. That's
Wow.
how it felt. And it was just really terrible. It was like 24/7. So I'm just scratching and scratching and scratching, and it's making it worse. And that's where a lot of the pigmentation came from on my body. But again, that was an accumulation of everything that I was eating, drinking, stress, all these things was just accumulating in my body. And that was my body's way of trying to push it out, because it can't filter. It no longer can filter through the kidneys. It no longer can filter through the liver. It has to come out somewhere. My colon's backed up. So I'm not using the bathroom the way I should be. So what it now is trying to pull out through my skin. It's trying to push out through my skin. That's what ended up happening.
Wow.
And that's why a lot of people suffer from different skin conditions, because of inflammation. The inflammation in our body is not filtering the way it's supposed to be filtering.
And that's good, because I've never heard of inflammation in terms of like the way you're explaining it. Before, I always thought inflammation was only just in terms of something touching your skin and it turning red. I never saw it as something that happens on the inside of the body and causes other things to happen, because you never heard anybody talk about it. It was always skin related when you talk about inflammation. But when you start going through things and you start feeling, effects of different things in your body, and you realize inflammation is the source of it, now you start to educate yourself and realize, wow, I didn't even realize that it went beyond just the skin. I thought it was when your face is red, that just means you have inflammation. You don't hear a lot of conversations about diet affecting inflammation. And you always think products. You know, I'm inflamed because something I put on my face topical, or maybe something I consumed that didn't agree with me. Not that you can eat some stuff that do feel like it agree with you, but not realizing that later on it's causing something like inflammation that's causing a major shift in your body, and that affects, that's how people, it contributes to heart disease and cancer and diabetes. It's all sources of inflammation. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then when you break it down even further, it gets to the point where these small things, like these small things, just a little bit of self-awareness, you would think they would change the perspective of
Mm,
individuals.
mm,
A lot of the times, because in reality, diabetes is so real.
mm,
People are dying left and right from heart disease. People are suffering. We have mothers and aunts and family members that are suffering from all these illnesses.
mhm.
And I'm to the point now where I'm like, wow, like a little bit of self-control, a little bit of self-awareness, a little bit of
Yeah.
application can absolutely change the trajectory of this whole it runs in my family
And
state.
there's even, I have a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine that I grew up with. We hung out together with my best friend, and she was always skinny, and just never. And she died a couple years ago as a result of diabetes. Nobody. She started. Our mindset when we think of illnesses and diabetes, we expect tragic outward stuff that you see.
Mhm.
Oh, we expect to look at a person and be like, oh, they're doing bad, they're sick, something's wrong with them. But there are people that are dying, dropping dead, that look healthy externally, and there's some stuff going on in their body, which is like crazy, because she was one of them. She was, she had just found out that she was diabetic in, like, it was like June or July. She died in November. And I used to think, when I heard about it, and I'm thinking, she went into a diabetic coma, and it was right after Thanksgiving, went into a diabetic coma, and she just never came out of it. She died. And I thought, you've got people walking around here with diabetes for years, years, that are completely overweight, that don't put any emphasis on making sure they watch what they eat. They eat whatever they want, inflamed and all. And they're living years and years and years. And you got this one person who was just recently diagnosed and died within a couple of months. I was like, I think that really shocked me more than any other case when it comes to diabetes. And because I'm thinking, wait a minute, she was my age. Like, what happened? What do you mean she's died? She wasn't really that heavy. How did she go into a diabetic coma? Well, that's what happened. Came home with her husband, went and gotten, from my understanding, went and got in the shower, took a shower, and screamed out her husband's name. And she passed out in the shower, took her to the hospital, and she never came out. She died. She went into a coma. And then she died. She never recovered from that. So you're right. This is serious.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
serious.
Absolutely. And,
Wow.
and remember when I said in the internal portion, a lot of times when we already get to a chronic illness, it's not because it came out of nowhere. It's because it's
Mhm.
already was in our body. We
Mm,
already were suffering from it. It's just the symptoms happen to come later on, but our
mm,
body's already damaged. We
mm,
don't wake up one day and just feel sick.
mm.
Usually our body's already has the illness in
The
there.
breakdown process has already started.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know if I had said it before, but I was watching this. I don't know if it was a program that you had told me about, but I was watching something on Netflix, and they was talking about this lady, and this lady was actually she was, she had hip issues, and she could barely walk. She was walking with the walker, and she needed assistance with everything that she did. And then she was talking about her diet habits and stuff that she changed. And literally within like 90 days, this lady was off the walker. She had changed her diet completely, and she had changed her diet completely, and literally within 90 days she literally changed. She didn't have to use the walker anymore or anything. I was like, wow, just 90 days. That form of, and they had other examples, of course, of people that were overweight, that has suffered, different illnesses and then changed their diet in just only 90 days. They had drastic changes. I
Yeah.
was like, wow.
90 days, that's the magic number. That's where I start to work with people. That's when people start seeing results at the 90-day mark if they are consistent. So you guys, you tuning in 90-day mark, October, November, December. You can have already reached your goal by January. Reach out and call me and book a call, because that is so true. That 90-day mark is powerful when you're consistent.
So don't make your resolution. Don't make you want a New Year's resolution. You better start now.
Yeah.
Some of you that are real eager to place change on a calendar date, you want to start. If you really want a New Year's resolution, you got to start now to see that calendar date of January 1st to see major changes. Start now.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's simply like amazing. But we're gonna take a quick break. And we're going to go ahead and continue with part 2 as Sharmane begin to educate us on inflammation and how it affects our body. And we're going to go into part 2 where Sharmane's going to go into the food portion about how the different types of food that we eat affects our body in particular. So don't go anywhere. And while we're on commercial break, if you have any questions for Sharmane, make sure you put it in the comments. Make sure that you put it right there in the comments and we'll address it while we're here on the broadcast. If you are watching the replay, make sure you put #replay. Show us some love and let us know that you are enjoying the broadcast and that you are getting some is Sharmane giving us some good information or what? How many of you didn't know about inflammation the way you know now? Let us know in the comments and we'll see you after this. Thanks for watching, guys.
There's no need for fire.
Hi, I'm Nadira, author, life, and business coach, and founder of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. I'm excited to be able to bring to you a class that I'm going to be teaching on called How to Build Digital Products with Ease. This course is going to be filled with so much amazing content. We're going to talk about how to create ebooks, journals, courses, and so much more. So make sure you register. Link is below. So make sure that you sign up so that you don't miss how to use your creativity to create products that will benefit you and your potential clients to come. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder.
Are you on mute?
All right, and we are back here with Herbal Naturopath Sharmane Q. Harrison and myself, Nadira Lewis, and we are talking about a topic today that is pretty interesting, you guys. We are talking about inflammation. And in the first part, and for those of you that are just now watching, we were talking about the effects of inflammation and how it affects our body and how important it is for you to change your habits, but also create a sense of awareness to know what you're putting in your body so that you can know how it's affecting you so that you can make the changes that you need to be able to live a better, healthy life. Now, Sharmane, we are in part 2. And you wanted to discuss about the different types of foods that affect us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you continue to share with us about the food portion of inflammation. and how it
Um,
affects them.
Definitely. So now we're going to get into the major ways that we easily get inflammation and how we can stop the chronic inflammation in our bodies so that it doesn't lead to those illnesses that most believe to be generational. So when inflammation happens, chemicals from your body's white blood cells into your blood or your tissue to protect your body from invaders. That's kind of what we went over in the first half. This raises the blood flow to the area of the injury or infection. It causes redness and warmth. Some of the chemicals can cause fluid to leak inside your tissues that actually result in that swelling. So I find a lot of times people worry about what they shouldn't have or what they can't have instead of focusing on what they can have. So
Mm.
if you tell a typical individual right now, do not consume gluten or processed sugar, their immediate response is, but everything in the world has gluten and processed sugar in it. There's nothing I can't eat that doesn't have that in it. But no, it doesn't. Remember those traditions that you were raised on, those habits and your relationship with food that I always speak about that. That's where you learn that myth. Now, yes, a majority of the things that are advertised on TV and around us and sold in stores, yeah, they do have those things. But once again, all it takes is a shift of your perspective to see things differently. And it goes back to what I always say. What's your relationship with food? You can't have a mindset where you have already accepted defeat in your mind before you even try. That's what happens with a lot of us. We've already accepted defeat. We say, it's basically self-sabotage. And that's why we settle most of the time.
Mm.
That's why we just, accept illnesses for what it is. And we don't even try to save our own lives because we become complacent with not taking action to learn something new and something different.
Wow.
And I want to kind of get into the things that do cause that inflammation. Things like alcohol. You have things like processed meats, red meat, smoking, cow milk, eggs, cheese. See, this is the thing. Dairy contains high levels of what is called protein, like casein. So this type of protein does trigger inflammation. There's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, well, that doesn't count. Milk doesn't cause inflammation. Eggs doesn't." Yes, it does. Soda, artificial colors, dyes, sugary juices and drinks, all these things. If you notice bloating, because you have people that consume eggs or milk or cheese or things like that. Now, if you notice bloating, constipation, diarrhea, digestive issues, food sensitivity, stomach issues, all these things are red flags. If you consume those things and you actually notice these things happening, that's your red flags. Okay, I always say your body speaks to you. Your body definitely speaks to you. You have to stop ignoring it. A lot of times we consume something and then our stomach goes and we're like, oh, I'm good. No, you're not. Like your body is talking to you. We consume something and then our chest hurt. Oh, my chest hurt. Like, oh, I got a little acid reflux. That's your body talking to you. Those, stop
Mm.
ignoring it. Those are the things that lead up to illnesses and inflammation.
Mm.
Our
Yeah,
body talks to us all the time and we ignore it because we normalize it.
that's so true. Wow. I think about that drinking those no doses and drinking those Red Bulls and drinking those, especially when you're working late and you just putting stuff in your body and you're like, instead of thinking that natural energy, you think I need something now. I need a sugar rush now. And you drink these drinks that got so much sugar in it. And you wind up having heart palpitations because you don't know what in the heck they put in this. I was one of them. I wasn't a big Red Bull drinker, but I would guzzle down a no dose or a monster drink in a minute. I'm so glad that I stopped taking those and started to get into more natural things to take for energy because, oh my gosh, I probably did a whole lot of damage during that time and didn't even realize it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you take the time to look at the back where the ingredients are actually on. We actually know that a lot of those ingredients, if you Google them, they'll tell you what it is. They will.
Mm. Wow.
They will definitely tell you what it is. But like you said, we're on a go. We're on a go. Nobody's in a grocery store saying, "Oh, well, let me take this water and look at it and see where it come from and where it's sourced from and if it's good to go. You know, if it has extra chemicals." Because I was like that. But now I actually take the time, because that's where the self-awareness comes from. Taking the time to actually look.
Do you think people take labels seriously? You think that people take, because there's some people who look at the labels, but do you think they really take the label seriously? Like, do they? I'm thinking if you know that something, because you can unconsciously know something is not that good for you, and for us to just do it anyway, I know it's a lot to do with habit, but it also probably has to do with them not even really taking it seriously, the things that they see. Because if you tell me this is straight poison and I drink it anyway, it's either one, I'm just totally in a zombie state, or two, I'm just totally oblivious to what
Yeah,
to the effects and not really
absolutely.
taking it seriously.
Absolutely. It's like you said, it's a zombie state, it's normalization, it's people telling us, oh, well, we're gonna die for something anyway, or just not taking it seriously. Like you said, like it's just one of those things where you don't really take action, because we know what we're supposed to do, but we don't, because we choose to wait until we've been diagnosed with an illness as
Mm,
confirmation to say, oh, well, let me take my health a little bit more seriously. We
yeah,
literally have to knock at death's door before we begin to wake up.
yeah,
And that has to stop. That has to stop.
yeah. Definitely. And I think too, because we're in an industry where with the big pharma, everything is about, money and pharmacy, that even sometimes when you have people who like you, who I think, which is powerful, you've got the evidence. Your pictures tell it all. I know it don't really show everything, because what you experience is probably 10 times worse than what the pictures can probably show. But I think it's important when you have people like you that have experienced it. Being sick, I thought about that. I'm like, man, she was sick 8 months out of the year. I don't like even being sick a week. You were sick 8 months. And I'm thinking like, but when you share that with people, we're so used to people in professions telling us what to do. Oh, this is, don't listen to her. She's not a doctor.
Mhm.
Listen to me, take this medicine, because they're getting paid, to be able to promote these medications and stuff like that. But then when you got somebody who's doing the natural alternative way and say, hey, I've got something better than just education. I have the results. I have a changed, my body is changed, and it started in my mind. I mean, it just makes your story even more powerful. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
definitely, I mean, it doesn't mean I don't consult a doctor, but man, you've really changed my perspective on how I view health, instead of running to the doctor for every
Mhm.
little thing, you brought an awareness to say, hey, wait, before you start to flip, maybe you need to look at what you're consuming, and let's change that first. And then once you start to see the results of that, then if we need to go to the doctor for more severe, but you were severe. I mean, gosh, I don't even know if that's even appropriate to say that, because I see your body. I'm like, wow. I was like, her body looks like she has a filter on it, like literally, because of the transformation. It's just incredible, Sharmane. Incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head, because majority of the time we're raised to consume all those things above, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people speak, and I know it's tough because I've been there, I do understand why it could be hard, to
Mm-hmm.
break away from what we're used to, because we don't know anything else. And then if we try anything else, we start to self-sabotage by telling
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, well, I don't like that. I don't want that, because it's so unfamiliar to us. Or we label it and say, well, we don't cook like that,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So that's why when anyone ever speaks to me or comes to me for advice, I start off by saying, increase your fruit, vegetable, and water intake. That's my simple advice. Just increase your fruit, vegetable, and water intake. That's step one. That is absolutely step one. Before you try to detox, before you try to take herbs, Before you try to talk about you taking CMOS, before you jump into the deep end of the pool, make sure that you put your feet in the water first. A lot of people say stuff does not work because they don't understand. They're not taking it correctly and they're not doing things correctly. So it's not going to work for you.
And I think too, it creates habits. You know, when you start changing, you said something in earlier broadcasts, just, you know, starting habitual small changes. When you start making those small changes, adding more fruit, vegetables, and water to your diet, you develop a habit. It becomes easier probably for your body to naturally detox anyway, you know, because you're changing. Whenever I would, you know, my mom would always say, man, my body, you know, my bowels are changing or this and that. I'm like, because you're when you're changing what you eat, your body goes through this natural detox. You know, of course, you're going to do extra things, as you said, to help push out the waste even the more. But I like that because it's almost like you're shocking the body slowly, you know. Even I saw this one thing where it was talking about, like, you know, when you start learning how to eat certain things, it was saying how your body will automatically, it's like you're tricking your body. Isn't that something? How our body, you can trick your body into doing anything that you wanted to do, because ultimately you're in control. Your decisions and how you think, is the mindset is so important, because how you think about what you because most of us do emotional eating. You know, oh, you know, I'm depressed, I'm not feeling good, I guess I eat me a piece of cake, I guess I eat me you know, I'll just do this. And that emotional eating happens because of what you deal with in your mind. And then, so I think you're right. When you start dealing with the awareness of what you're doing, it's almost like when you come out of consciousness, out of that, you know, a certain level of consciousness is awakened. You realize, oh, wait, I don't want to eat that no more. You know, you don't. And when you realize, when you stop eating some of that stuff, you don't even crave it that much anymore. It's like, oh, I don't even want it. Like, I haven't drank soda in so long that when I drink it, I'm literally like, I could taste the sugar. Like, it's like, oh my God, I was drinking like almost cases of this stuff. It was nothing for me to guzzle down, like literally in a day, equal to a liter or sometimes more of Sprite, you know. And you know, until I heard my brother tell me what they made Sprite with, I was like, I'm good, you know. He was like, yeah, I worked in the factory, I worked in the distillation part, and he's like, yeah, they brought sacks of bags of, you know, beaver balls in the place. And I'm like, they did what? And he's like, yeah, they added as a sweetener. He said, I happened to look in and they told him these were beaver balls. And I thought, in Sprite?
Vanilla extract too. Yep, vanilla extract also.
I'm like, what the heck is this? The amount of things that are being thrown into food, we're just looking at the taste and the quickness, not looking at the process. I was watching, I'm a huge TikTok fan, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna let you close out. But I was watching TikTok 2-3 in the morning one day. I was like, man, I just want to, you know, kind of just sit and look at some videos or whatever to change, you know, the scenery in my mind, because I've been working. And you know, sometimes you get in that work mode, you be like, I need a brain release, you know. So I'm watching TikTok and I saw this video where they were in a factory and they took all of this, it was like all kinds of stuff, and they said it was dog carcasses, and it was like plastic and all this other stuff, and they were saying they were making bacon, and they were saying they was making it in a factory, and they literally showed you the video of how they were making the bacon. I was like, I'm good.
Rice
I was
too.
like, I'm good. Plastic?
Rice. Plastic rice, yeah. They do it with rice. There's so much foods that we consume on a Yeah, absolutely. It's real. It's real. A lot of, like I said, a lot of times we're just conditioned to believe what we want to believe, because it's easier just to follow, you know, how we were raised and follow those things. Like, it's like our mind, it wants to stay in this state, in this safe space of not wanting to change until we're diagnosed with this diagnosis. And then even with that, we continue to go through our habits and we say, well, I'll just pray through it. Prayer is awesome, but you're praying, but you're biting a cheeseburger. You're praying, but you're eating pizza. You can't do that. You can't do. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, you can't eliminate the faith without works is dead. You can't eliminate the action part of, you know, of what you respond. You can't eliminate your part in it. God, come take this cheeseburger out of my hand.
Right. I'm just like, man. But that's why we got to work on mindset when we start, because that's how powerful it is. Because some of the times you're not aware. Like I said, you just kind of want to jump into the deep end. You got to put your feet in the water first, because if you don't, you jump into the deep end. You can't swim. That's a whole problem right there. You're gonna be so traumatized, you're never gonna do it again. I just saw earlier in a group, about women talking about certain things, the CMOS, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's about as natural as it's gonna get. Like it
I don't know
works.
what
You
you're
just
talking
gotta
about.
make sure that
Well, what are you looking? Actually, you have to ask them. What do you expect? What are you looking for? Because
yeah.
when you hear people say, "Oh, it doesn't work," well, what do you know about its properties that make you feel like you challenging its result? Because it's not like it does things internally that you don't see. It goes and does things internally, so it's not going to be like the stuff that you take, with all the chemicals and stuff. It's like you said, your body has to go through a repairing process. Most people try to look beautiful, and they don't realize. Like, I look at your pictures, and like your skin, totally, you look younger. And I looked at some of your pictures before. Most people don't realize, man, if you're talking about, trying to look great, and just imagine when you start changing things inside of your body before you start changing the external, man. And when it go hand to hand, it's awesome. Like,
Absolutely. Like if
I
you're gonna
was
put the fruit on your skin, put it in your body.
yes, yes.
Or your skin. That's why you hear people say, well, I've tried fasting. I did that one time. I tried detoxing. It did nothing for me, because you haven't made it a lifestyle. When you make it a lifestyle, you don't have to try. You just do.
You just do. Yeah. And
When
then
you
you
make
do it
it a
without even
lifestyle.
realizing it. And change
Absolutely.
start taking place. And you be like, dang, like, wow, I didn't even realize this happened. I'm feeling a lot better. And I realized that, that I'm not even doing this. And when you get the proper rest too, and I'm not just talking about physical rest, because some of us lay down have a good amount of time to lay down. It's the rest in your mind, being able to rest mentally and emotionally. And really, I believe that the more you start, it's crazy because I've been really going back into reading The Purpose Driven Life and really listening to how to simplify your life, not just by doing a whole lot, but by really prioritizing and doing things in a much more simpler form, doing things that are purposeful, not just doing a whole lot of stuff, but doing more purposeful things. And that's in eating. That's in your personal life, just bringing balance to every area of your life, and not consuming, because what happens is you could be sitting still, but your mind be running around. Like my girlfriend said, those little bit people in your head, those people in your head. There's a little bit of people in your head because you sitting still physically, but your mind is doing like 8 different dances around your head, not because of because you're just doing so much physically. It's just your mind has got you feeling like you doing, like the kids say, you're doing the most. You're not, it may not be doing the most physically per se, but doing the most with allowing your mind to be jumping all over the place. And so it's important to really, like you said, just bring that balance and awareness, and be able to say, hey, did you have any final thoughts before anything else you wanted to add before we actually end the broadcast?
Absolutely. So before we do end the broadcast, I want to get into some things real quick that you can do to prevent or fight off inflammation.
All
So
right.
some of those things include fasting. You want to start at 24 hours. Consuming raw dark leafy greens, dark leafy greens, not cooked and boiled with turkey necks and sausage. Raw leafy greens, like kale.
Man, I'm getting
You say
hungry.
leafy
Like,
greens. Let me go put these greens on this pot. No.
like what she said. What?
Seeded fruit. You want to consume berries of all types: raspberries, blackberries, pineapples, cantaloupe, grapes, your seeded fruit. You want to exercise. You don't have to be in the gym for 2 hours. If you don't have a gym, that's fine. Take a walk outside. If it's raining outside, go do some yoga. Go do some deep breathing exercise. Turn on some YouTube. turn on some cardio if that's your thing. Weight lift, do something, but you have to make sure that you're moving your body because that's going to help you regulate your blood sugar levels because that has a lot to do with inflammation also. You want to manage your stress through meditation. Start practicing meditation. Self-image work. I remember I spoke about that in my last video that we did about self-image. The limited beliefs, because stress can contribute to inflammation, and also some herbs that you can do help to fight inflammation. Ginger, rose hips, fennel, cayenne is really good too. Cayenne pepper. Start there, and I promise you, start there consistently up and see what happens. I guarantee you're going to see changes within 30 days. You will be able to see changes within 30 days implementing those things. But before we do end, I want to invite all of you. I have a masterclass coming up. It's called The Natural Nutrition. It's on Friday, November 5th at 9 a.m. If you're struggling with nutrition, I'm going to be going over in details like what foods to eat in order to optimize your wellness journey. A lot of times we were struggling with like food sensitivity and stuff like that. So make sure that you're there at the event. I will be teaching you how to build your own customized meal plans. I'll be going over what herbs and spices, just literally from your backyard or kitchen, to use every day for health maintenance. A lot of times we don't even realize the power of nature around us. And as a bonus, I always do free giveaways during my events, my master classes that I have. So you'll have to attend to see what that is. But you can register.
I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comments. So you in the chat, you said that you have a master class on the natural nutrition. When is that going to be?
On November 5th at 9 a.m.
Okay. So I can put this in here for those that may be watching the replay or watching it can actually see. So where can they go to actually register for this again?
So you can register for that through Instagram. The link at Sharmane_Q. That link is in my bio. If you don't have Instagram, you can send me a direct message here on Facebook to register. I'll send you over the link. You can also subscribe at the website www.healbynature.org to receive the registration link. And remember, when you are tired of dealing and you are ready for healing, book a free discovery call with me so that I can help you achieve your goals. I need to hear a little bit more about what you want to accomplish. Again, that 90-day mark think of it as ending the year off strong. Don't think of it as starting your New Year's resolution, or look at it like I'm ending this quarter off super strong. Okay. So we can get you at least started and not continuing to wait. That's what's most important. Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. So you guys make sure you sign up for her masterclass for the natural nutrition, November 5th at 9 a.m. on Instagram. You can visit at the bottom of the screen. You can go to her Instagram account, the @handle Sharmane_Q. Make sure you visit her website also at healingbynature.org if you want to be able to schedule the discovery call with her so that she can get you on the path and take you from dealing to healing, as Sharmane would say. So if you're watching us through if you're watching us here in the Wisdom Clinic and you're watching it on the replay, make sure you leave a comment for Sharmane. If you got any questions, make sure you put it in the chat. And Sharmane and I will definitely answer your questions and respond to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sharmane, so much for just contributing to the Wisdom Clinic. We appreciate your contribution here and how you spend so much time and energy just sharing information, valuable information to help us get our lives back on track. And so we appreciate that. And for those of you that are watching, make sure you also, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go to Amazon. If you haven't gotten my book already, What Happened to Me? How Did I Get Here? Where I talk about there's two things that you may not be able to control everything in your life, but you are in control of two things. You are in control of your perspective and you're in control of your response. So until next time, we will see you on, today is Tuesday, so I will see you Friday with here in the Wisdom Clinic among the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs brand pages. We will see you for Sisterhood Check-in on Friday at 10 o'clock. I'm excited to be able to share some interesting things with you. So we will see you this Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake.